There was a young man who could never finish anything. Not because he lacked talent, not because he lacked time, but because his mind was at war with itself. 1,000 thoughts, 1,000 doubts, 1,000 directions, and not a single step forward. His name was Ethan, 23 years old, living in a small town, trying to build something, anything. Every morning he woke up with big plans. Today I'll finish that project. Today I'll finally focus. Today will be different. But by noon, his mind had already wandered to 100 different places. He would start one thing, get distracted, start another, leave it unfinished. His room was filled with half-read books, half-written ideas, half-lived dreams. People called him talented, creative, full of potential. But Ethan knew the truth. His mind wasn't his friend, it was his prison, and the bars were made of thoughts he couldn't control. His father had been the same way, brilliant but scattered, always chasing something new, never finishing, and Ethan watched him struggle his whole life. Now, he was becoming him. One evening, Ethan sat alone on his porch, exhausted, frustrated, defeated. Another day wasted, another project abandoned. Why can't I just focus? He whispered to himself. A familiar voice came from the road. Because you never learned how. Ethan looked up. Standing there was Samuel, an old man with silver hair, weathered hands, and calm, steady eyes. His father's closest friend, and Ethan's uncle by bond, not blood. Ethan hadn't seen him in years. Uncle Samuel? The old man smiled gently. Your father asked me to check on you before he passed. He walked up the steps and sat beside Ethan. I see you inherited more than just his eyes. Ethan felt a sting of shame. I can't control my mind. It's everywhere, just like Dad. Samuel nodded slowly. Your father struggled his whole life, not because his mind was broken, but because no one ever taught him to train it. He stood up. Walk with me. They walked down a quiet dirt path. The evening sun cast long golden shadows. Fields stretched out on both sides. Samuel stopped near an old farmer working in his field. The man was plowing, slow, steady, one row at a time. You see that farmer? Samuel asked. Ethan nodded. He's been doing this for 40 years. Same field, same work. His mind doesn't wander to the next row, or tomorrow's harvest, or last season's rain. He's just here. One row, one step, one moment. Samuel turned to Ethan. That used to be me. Ethan looked surprised. You? Samuel smiled sadly. When I was your age, my mind was chaos, worse than yours. I'd start 10 things, finish none. I was brilliant at starting, terrible at staying. He paused. I lost everything because of it. My business, my marriage, nearly lost myself. Ethan stayed silent. Then I met an old carpenter, your grandfather actually. He didn't lecture me, didn't judge me. He just handed me a hammer and said, build me a table, one nail at a time. Samuel laughed softly. I thought it was beneath me. I was a big thinker, a visionary. But he insisted, so I tried. And you know what happened? Ethan shook his head. I couldn't do it. My mind kept jumping ahead, thinking about the finished table, worrying about mistakes, planning the next project. I hammered 3 nails and walked away. Samuel looked Ethan in the eyes. Your grandfather found me the next day, brought me back. 1 nail, he said. Don't think about the table, just the nail in your hand. So I did. 1 nail, then another, then another. Took me 3 weeks to finish that table, but when I did, everything changed. Samuel reached into his pocket. He pulled out a small, worn wooden box, opened it. Inside was a single rusted nail. He handed it to Ethan. This is the first nail I ever focused on. He handed it to Ethan. I carry it everywhere, a reminder. Your mind will always wander, Ethan. That's not the problem. The problem is believing you have to control it. Ethan held the nail. "So, what do I do?" Samuel smiled. "Find your nail. One task, one focus, one thing you commit to finishing before your mind pulls you away. Not a big project, not a grand vision, just one thing. Could be 10 minutes of writing, 5 push-ups, washing one dish. Doesn't matter what it is. What matters is you stay until it's done. And when your mind screams to quit, to switch, to run, you breathe, you notice, and you come back. One nail, one breath, one moment." The next morning, Ethan tried it. He chose something small, cleaning his desk, just the desk, nothing else. His mind immediately fought. "This is boring. You should be working on something important. What's the point?" But he stayed, one item at a time. And when it was done, he felt something he hadn't felt in years: completion. Days turned to weeks. Every morning, one task fully finished. His mind still wandered, but now he noticed and brought it back. Like Samuel said, one nail, one breath, one moment. See, most people think they need to control every thought, to silence the mind completely. But that's impossible. Your mind will always wander. That's what minds do. The difference isn't in having fewer thoughts, it's in not being controlled by them. Real focus isn't about perfection, it's about return. Noticing when you've drifted and coming back, again and again and again. That's discipline. Not the loud, forceful kind, the quiet, patient kind. The kind that doesn't fight the storm, it just refuses to be moved by it. Ethan's father never learned that. He chased every thought, every idea, every distraction, and died with a mind full of unfinished dreams. But Ethan chose differently, not because he was stronger, but because someone showed him the way. Months later, Ethan stood at his father's grave, the rusted nail in his pocket. "I did it, Dad," he whispered. "I learned what you couldn't, not because I'm better, but because Uncle Samuel showed me." He placed a hand on the headstone. "One task at a time, one nail at a time. I'm finishing what you started." The wind blew across the cemetery, but Ethan stood still. So if your mind feels like chaos tonight, if you can't finish what you start, if focus feels impossible, know this: you don't need a perfect mind. You just need to find your nail. One task, one breath, one moment of return. Start there. The rest will follow. If this story gave you clarity, like, share it with someone fighting their own mind, and subscribe for more stories that break the cycles we inherit. Because discipline isn't built in grand visions, it's built one nail